All right, good afternoon. Wonderful. Hi, well, I want to first and foremost thank each of you for coming to our session focused on Extreme Makeover for the Customer Care and Service Cloud. My name is Jolene Chan, and I am the Managing Director at Blue Wolf, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be here with you. How many of you guys in the room today are currently implemented on Salesforce.com and predominantly for your sales and marketing group thus far? If you raise your hand, wonderful. So each of you who are predominantly interested in or who have implemented on sales and marketing, I personally have been working with Salesforce.com for about 8 years now. And one of the interesting things that I see in the marketplace is that Salesforce.com started with sales and marketing, and as the product has evolved over time, and as each of you have really been the individuals who've been promoting the transformation of what it's done in your business, the platform has now opened itself up to really give us the opportunity to look at customer care and areas where Partner Portal and Customer Portal really can allow us to extend our reach to the customers. And that's really what we're here to talk to you about today. How many of you guys are currently looking at this predominantly from a services perspective? Wow, wonderful. Okay. I can't tell you how excited we are then to have the panel that we do here to speak to you about that. The first individual that I wanted to introduce to you is our Director of Services, who really focuses on the customer care and call center processes within Blue Wolf. Her name is Karen Freed, and I'm going to have her come up and talk to you a little bit about the trends that we see in the marketplace as we're looking at the customer care initiatives. So if you can please welcome Karen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed the keynote speaker this morning. What I'd like to discuss with you today is a quick snapshot of how Gartner sees the industry. It's taken in 2009, and so currently most of the areas that are concentrated and being used on the platform is 20% in email response. So that right now in 2009 is what we're focused on. As you can see, only 1% in customer service and support analytics. But looking forward, as the trend progresses, in 2012, Gartner predicts that it'll go up to somewhere in 20% for contact and applications for CRM. So the trend is showing that this is where we are moving. This is where the organizations are pulling and putting their focus on. Customer care trends and the things that our customers are going to be focusing on in 2012 and moving forward in 2010 is transparency, getting the voice of your customer, and productivity. Let me give you some examples. So what we've noticed with our clients, and I'm sure with yourself and your organizations that you work with, is in transparency, what is it that you as an organization are going to provide out to your customer in terms of updating them on information about the services that you provide, of outages, of updates to cases. So use of portals will help them with that. Leveraging the cloud portal to get feedback bidirectional from your customer to you. By doing that, also increasing the voice of the customer. So currently right now the biggest form is via email that we're tracking in Salesforce, but going forward we'd like to track the customer feedback regarding how their interaction is with you for your products, for your services. And then the last one is the ability to track the productivity. So how are we measuring the productivity of our organization? How are we being reactive to our customers? How are we as an organization refining the sub-processes that help you drive your organization to success? And last, you will always be able to monitor the access of data. So what are they looking at on the sites? And how are our customer service reps actually reacting to that? Back to you, Jolene.
So one of the things that I wanted to really talk to you guys about as you think about customer care is clear success. Blue Wolf as an organization has actually been focused on implementing Salesforce.com for the past 9 years. And what we're really focused on within this process is helping you to really transform that business in an agile and iterative manner. Part of that really focuses on some of the key attributes behind what we really believe can help us go about this initiative. And it really starts with your lead to order process. So as you're considering the movement of your sales and your services organization, specifically your services organization, we want to focus on the lead to order process because all of that really kind of supports the transformation, and technology is what can really enable that. I am very excited to introduce to you two of our key customers who've gone through this process in the past year. And what's really unique about the two customers that we are bringing to the table today is that they were not looking just at Salesforce.com as their area of transformation. They really looked to rebuild their entire infrastructure on the cloud, starting with Salesforce, some tied in the customer portal, big machines to do proposal quoting, and open air. And with that, I'd want to really introduce to you David Post. David is someone that is very near to me and dear to me because he's the VP of Operations within SunQuest, and he really was able to embrace this idea and use the Service Cloud to really support that process and enable his customer care process. So without further ado, David?
Let me just adjust this for a second. Jolene and I are surprisingly not the same height, so I'm going to try to... Can everyone hear me okay in the back? All right, excellent. Thank you, Jolene. As Jolene pointed out, I am with SunQuest Information Systems. We'll talk a little bit about who SunQuest is to give you some context. But my role at SunQuest is Vice President of Customer Operations and Strategic Programs. The first part of that title literally, not surprisingly, deals with customer-facing operations, so professional services, consulting, implementation services, et cetera, and then also customer care, customer support, addressing customer issues, enhancements, defects, overall customer experience. The second half of my title really reflects my involvement in corporate development efforts and large-scale strategic initiatives for the company. Having said that, let's talk a little bit about SunQuest Information Systems. We are a market-leading provider of diagnostic software within hospital laboratories and commercial reference labs. 30 years young, we were founded in 1979, have taken on a number of ownership structures from public to subsidiary of a larger company to being privately owned today. Just to give you an idea of what exactly SunQuest does, when you go to the doctor and you have a test, your doctor orders a test, or you go to the hospital and you have blood drawn, those tests need to occur within the lab, and there needs to be a software infrastructure that interfaces with all the instruments, all the peripheral applications to ensure that John Doe or Jane Doe and their specimen or their blood are never disassociated, and they're correctly associated and funneled back to the doctor for diagnosis. Our software provides that plumbing, so we really are essentially a mission-critical enterprise application within the hospital laboratory. As you can see on here, a global company, we have strong market share within the United States, and really very strong market share within the leading academic medical centers. Cleveland Clinic, Carolinas Healthcare, Scripps, Partners Healthcare, Mass Gen. I mean, these are all really the largest, most prestigious academic medical institutions in the country, and I'm proud to call all of them our customers. Now, having said that, it's a good lead into what you can imagine is quite a demanding customer base. So when you sell to we sell in service to market leaders, they expect a certain level of service and customer experience, and that's really been our focus over the years. So let me talk a little bit about our transition and how we changed our overall customer care experience. So before Makeover, give you a little before and after picture here. Before our Makeover, we were very much on-premise with our applications. I would say a very light level of integration between those mission-critical applications, a disparate customer experience, one that is relatively siloed. So, sales was already on Salesforce. Customer service, customer support was on Siebel. We really didn't have a true professional services application. And all those applications were relatively siloed. They didn't talk to each other. And we had some redundant data. So essentially, everyone had a different view of the customer and not an integrated view. And many times, that view was different depending on with whom you talked within the company. A lack of responsiveness overall. So customers would call in wanting to find out, hey, I want to know, talk to their account executive. I log this enhancement request. I log this defect. I need to know where it's at, what the status of it is. That account executive would then need to talk to a manager over in customer support, who would then need to talk to an analyst, who would then look up the issue, get back to the manager, who would get back to the account executive, who would get back to the customer. So, really not a level of responsiveness that was acceptable. And then, a couple of other things. Lack of overall customer empowerment and self-service, so not really strong self-service capabilities. Traditional sort of portal was really used to log cases, to track cases, not a whole lot more than that. And then lastly, our overall messaging to the customer base was limited. And what I mean by that is the example I use with my team has been, how often do you go to your own company's website? Right? How often do I go to sunquestinfo.com? I never go there. And that's where all of our press releases go to. That is where all of our market messaging goes to. And many of our customers don't go there. They don't have a need to go there. They're already a customer. They don't need to be going to our website to find out things about us. And so we're really missing an opportunity on messaging into that customer base. They weren't getting any messaging strategically, nor were they understanding what the latest and greatest things that we were doing out in the marketplace. So, move that slide. Interesting. After the makeover, and I've got some screenshots up here to give you a little bit more of a visual. But what we aspired to and what we've achieved is really more of a 360-degree view of the customer. So, an integrated off-premise solution within the cloud that allows everyone in our organization to access customer data and customer information in a role-based manner. All right, so we took essentially best-of-breed SaaS solutions and married them together to create that 360 view. So we've got Salesforce for our sales and marketing organization. We were also using Salesforce for our customer support organization today. We've married that with SoftTracks for our finance organization. And lastly, in the midst of putting in a SaaS PSA solution as well. And so really what you see there is a best-of-breed sort of approach completely in the cloud that allows an integrated set of data for anyone looking to field a customer question, address a customer issue, or in general approach the customer experience with the right level of responsiveness, as well as the right level of, shall we say, unique customer approach. So making the customer feel like they're being heard and making them feel like they don't have to repeat themselves. I give you the example of when I call into American Express, right? I have a question. I give my information once. I don't repeat it 5 more times depending on who I'm transferred to. They have that in the system. They know who I am, and they're able to provide me with that high-touch approach that kind of makes me feel warm and fuzzy at the end of the day. So what are some of the benefits that we've seen? Immediate decrease in call volume, an increase in portal usage. Out of the gate, around a 6% delta both ways, moving incrementally towards a 10% delta both ways. Once again, the quality and detail of information is much the detail and the quality is better. It's a single repository. It's not redundant. We don't have to maintain it in 3 or 4 places. It also has allowed a greater level of responsiveness to the customer base. And then lastly, from a response time and a quoting perspective, we've taken big machines and integrated that with Salesforce as well. So for our customers that want a quick quote, a turnaround, a proposal, we've used big machines to provide a certain level of automation through Salesforce to turn around those proposals in a manner that meets our customers' expectations. And on the flip side, also provides a level of control within our pricing and within our quoting structure. So that's another piece of the cloud that we've been able to leverage for our sales team. And then lastly, bidirectional customer communication through the portal. And I touched upon this earlier, but really enabling bidirectional communication, whereby a traditional portal would enable that one-way communication from the customer base into SunQuest only. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what our customer experience looked like after the makeover. So personalized, a couple things highlighted on here, so it's a little busy. Let me point a few things out to you. At the top, personalized welcome message to the customer. So really, having the customer log in, recognizing who they are, providing a personalized message, greeting them as well as the facility that they represent. You'll see articles and news postings. So the empowered user, that's the name of the portal. We branded it SunQuest Empower. And it shows them things that we've done recently. For example, we changed our asset list. We consolidated it based on customer feedback. Talks to them a little bit about new application updates that might be available, new training that may be available. So you're seeing an upselling opportunity, a cross-selling opportunity here for new training and new services. You're also seeing a closed feedback loop. So as customers provide feedback and request changes, we're able to respond to those and let them know that we've done so. And then to the call out on the right-hand side, we're also reinforcing our marketing and branding through the portal. So as SunQuest, we believe in our mantra is the 5 rights of medical testing, and how every patient has those 5 rights. And it's worked really well out in the marketplace, and we've gotten a lot of traction and recognition around it. This allows us another channel to reinforce that messaging with the customer. You'll also see on the bottom left-hand corner another customer contest that we're running for customers to engage us on enhancing their overall solutions to their clientele and to their customer base. So, a couple things here: greater personalization, a better feedback loop to the customer that provides upselling, cross-selling, and general feeling of strong responsiveness by us, the vendor. And then lastly, really strong opportunity for marketing and branding. So we're able to take our marketing message, put it out there on the portal, reinforce it to our customer base so that we don't have dissonance between what we're saying out in the marketplace and what our customer base that is already installed is hearing from us. We've got alignment, we've got congruence across the board on that messaging. The other piece I wanted to put up here was just the Ideas tab that we implemented. And this has been very well received from the customer base as well. And what this is really creating an interconnected community, both within the customer base and allowing them a vehicle to contribute ideas and thoughts into us, SunQuest. So essentially, customers can go on here, post ideas, and then vote on them. So, thumbs up, thumbs down, and each idea gets a certain amount of points depending on who votes on it. This has been really powerful for us. We took the with Blue Wolf's assistance, we looked around the industry and then looked outside of the industry at other companies that had this sort of functionality and used the portal in this manner, the Dells of the world, the Starbucks of the world, and that was really what we benchmarked ourselves against. And rolling out this Ideas portal has been really well received by the customer base, partially because we've demonstrated usage of it out of the gate. So if you recall on the previous screen, we talked about that asset consolidation and that update we provided to the customer base. That was really an outcome or a function of an idea that was put onto the portal through the Ideas tab, was voted on, and then we took that and basically took action on it. So the customers feel as if they have a voice, they're being heard, but it also, not only just to us, but to each other, creates a level of interconnectivity. It creates a customer community where they're sharing ideas, they're commenting on each other's ideas, they're voting on those, and that in turn presents a level of stickiness that wasn't there previously, right? So we all want the stickiest customer base possible, and this is one more thing to create that sticky customer base and to bring those switching costs higher at the end of the day, right? We all want to keep and maintain our customers and build those relationships. So I wanted to share this Ideas tab with you because in addition to kind of that portal front page and that bidirectional communication, this has also been pretty powerful for us as far as being able to present something new and different and cutting edge to the customer base so that they understand and really appreciate the investment in technology that we're making to improve their overall customer experience. Do you want to talk tips and lessons learned, or do you want to save it for the back end, Jolene?
I think it would be great, David, if you want to talk about a couple of the tips and lessons learned.
Yeah, so just as far as tips, lessons learned, et cetera, kind of a handful of things that come to mind for me. Number one, change management can't be underestimated, and you know, some of this may be common sense, right? But you know, my favorite saying is, you know, common sense doesn't always equal common practice, right? So we all know what common sense is. It doesn't always mean we do it. So change management is a huge part of this, and we all have a customer base that they talk to each other, right? Customers always talk to each other. To some degree, they talk to each other more than they talk to us. And there's always a number of what I'll call loud, influential customers, squeaky wheels. Getting those handful of customers on board, what I'll call that loud minority, can be hugely important and critical in whether or not your kind of makeover is a success or not. Getting that buy-in, talking to the customers, hearing what they have to say, letting them know they've been heard, and to the degree appropriate, incorporating some of those ideas and recognizing for that. That's a huge part of making sort of a customer care makeover a success. Another piece that's hugely important is the internal change management. So similarly, understanding who your internal stakeholders are, and quite frankly, making sure that you have a small yet representative group of stakeholders from each area. You know, one of the worst things you can do is really try to be almost too inclusive. I mean, when you're working with your other functional areas, you know, they need to have one single person who's empowered, no pun intended, to make the decisions, to make the hard calls, and to live by those hard calls. And if you've got someone who's representing your sales organization, right, and you're trying to do a customer care makeover and you can't get commitment, you can't get buy-in, you can't get decisions to be made, you need to move them out and move somebody else back in. It's quite simple. A couple of other things that come to mind: don't underestimate data migration, a huge battle for us. And it's one of the things that struck me is, on the surface, you can think you know your data, but sometimes the warts in the data aren't what you experience through your user interface, right? It's not what you see day to day. And as you start mapping that data and you go underneath, you realize some of the integrity issues that may be there that just never surface in the day-to-day operations. So don't underestimate data migration. It's the biggest challenge and the biggest priority, especially if you're a well-established company. And then I guess my last point would just be, you know, around one of the greatest benefits you'll get from having this integrated system in the cloud is going to be operational dashboard and operational reporting. Think about what you want to get out of the data, and that needs to be part of the early process design and conference room piloting session. So what does that dashboard look like at the end of the day? What are the pieces of data that you're trying to get out of it? Define that up front and then back into everything else from there. So that is hugely important as well. I guess, you know, wrapping it up, you know, we made a very big transition. Ours was more of a big bang approach versus incremental. I think those lessons learned and those tips apply either way. But for us, it really has been an experience as far as game-changing, if you will, for both ourselves and our customer base. We now have essentially that end-to-end 360-degree view. You know, Salesforce, big machines, across the board. We're looking at off-premise professional services. Once that final component for services is in place, we will truly be able to have at our fingertips the kind of information the customer needs regardless of who they call within the company. Where's my project at? Where's my enhancement request at? What about this bug that I logged? Where's my quote at that I just asked for? Waiting on that proposal, that RFP response from you, Sunquest. We not only are able to have that level of responsiveness, but we're able to have a holistic view of the customer so that internally we can have better, more productive strategic discussions around how to improve the overall customer experience for Acme Lab or Hospital ABC. It doesn't really matter. We're going to be able to essentially provide them with a customer experience that they won't be able to get at any other competitor within our space. So, Jolene?
Thank you so much, David. I know just from a scheduling perspective, just so everyone is aware, the schedule did get pushed by 45 minutes, so the entire conference schedule got pushed for 45 minutes. So if some of you are wondering about that, I just want to make sure that that's clear. So there is one thing. David actually, his wife's birthday is today, so I want to make sure he can actually catch his flight. So I'm going to change the format just a little bit to see if there are one or two questions that you guys have for David. I want to make sure we can address that, and then we'll move on to Joe and Amy, and then handle the rest of the Q&A at the end of the session. Okay? So there was a question for David?
Can you guys hear me okay with this? Yeah, and since Jolene is so sharing, I'm actually a Libra, and I'm originally from New Jersey now. So as far as rolling out to our customers, you know, there's some things we did well and some things I think we could have done better. You know, we provided them with a preview of what the interface would look like. You know, Matt Grill, who's my training manager, he's in the audience, did a great job of putting together some early training. And that was pretty important, which was kind of putting together some standalone, you know, call it CBT, computer-based training, learning management system modules, so that our existing base could familiarize themselves and with the product, playground, if you will, a sandbox, and play around with it. But also, you know, it had to be a multi-pronged approach. So not only that, but FAQs, cheat sheets, et cetera, and kind of taking that all together, using, you know, every arrow in our quiver to socialize the new interface, the new customer experience with our base. I think, you know, things that we would have done. So I really thought that went well. Things we would have and could have done differently. I think I touched upon it earlier, was getting just some better buy-in from some of the louder, more vocal influencers in our base. I think we could have done a better job of that. And that's in hindsight, you know, if I could rewind the tape, I would have taken a more strategic approach and slowed down and made sure I got that buy-in early on. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's one approach, kind of having more of an exclusive webinar. My sense is having a more, so we did, you know, get customer input, general customer input as part of requirements gathering, but really taking those larger, more vocal customers and leveraging them to evangelize into the rest of the base. So to your point, whether it's a webinar or some other way, getting them on board earlier prior to the rollout and really letting them, you know, spread the gospel, for lack of a better term, that I think is something that I would have done differently.
Is there one more question for David? In the field? All right, wonderful. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. What we're going to do next is actually move to Joe Harris. And Joe, thank you so much. And Joe Harris actually is a client of ours. And this is kind of a compare contrast. What's very interesting about what David talked about at SunQuest Information Systems was he really communicated from a B2B perspective. What's very interesting about Joe is that Beezer Homes is an organization that really came to a similar desire and need, but more from a B2C perspective. So there really is a kind of a compare and contrast. In a similar fashion, the innovation that Joe and his organization has really looked at was, in this economy, really taking the time to invest in technology. So they came in at it from a strategic standpoint, and they looked at what we called a blueprinting process to really kind of map out their vision behind moving their sales organization, their sales call center organization, as well as their warranty organization onto Salesforce.com, and tying that into a CTI process to really look to increase the productivity of their organization. That project in and of itself, we've been working with Joe since December of last year, and he's also very much a colleague and personal mentor of ours. So without further ado, let me introduce Joe Harris.
Thank you. Thanks, Jolene. I am Director of IT at our corporate office in Atlanta, Beazer Homes. We're a top 10 home builder and based on the number of closings of homes. And as Jolene was mentioning, the whole B2B and B2C, we found a few things within Salesforce that, the application was kind of built originally off of more of a B2B type of thing, and we've struggled through a few things on the B2C side. Blue Wolf has really helped us through that, and we wanted to, as a company, focus on the down market, on getting our applications and our systems and our processes in place so when the market comes back that we're ready for it. And we really appreciate our executives buying into that and really leading the charge. We actually have went through the process of getting our sales team updated on Salesforce. We actually implemented a contact center on the sales side at the same time. So for the sales process has really dramatically changed when we were trying to put in Salesforce the first time. So we had a really strong change management process that we had in place. Blue Wolf helped us put that together, as well as getting the users involved early. We developed a customer experience task force team, and it was at all levels, from executive to VP of sales out in our field offices, down to our new home counselors who sit in our models and sell the homes. We're all on this team, and they actually UAT the application and went through the whole process. So we have them online. They're up and running. We got our sales team together to understand the new process with the call center in place. They're like, don't steal my lead, don't steal my lead, to get them to understand that they're just nurturing those leads and going to hand them right back to them once that person is ready to buy a home. So there was a lot of process part of the initiative on the sales side, as well as getting CTI integrated. CTI is going to really help us be able to be more efficient in the call calling and getting our customers transferred out to the people who actually can really answer the questions about the homes they're interested in. And I mentioned the sales piece because on the customer care side, their process is pretty tight. We have homes that we sell to our customers, and they become owners of these homes, and we have to warranty those homes for a number of years afterwards. So we're constantly involved with that progress. That process is pretty tight. It's pretty well in place. Not a lot to change with it as we're putting in a new application. But some of the heartaches that they're seeing today, so we'll talk about some of the before, is we receive our requests from our field reps who are out in New Jersey and this particular town and this particular community, who's servicing that community and all the homeowners in that community, and they might submit a request for service. The homeowner can also request support for their home as well through email, through the website, and right now all that information is coming through via email. So our call center, our customer care call center, has to manage this email folder box. So they're going through this email folders, and they'll open one up and they'll put their initials on it to say, I got it, so no one else will grab it, and two people calling the same customer. So they're using the email folders as a way to manage how many calls are coming in, who's handled what call. After that, they'll actually go into our current CRM system and actually enter that information into the system, where they're manually keying that information. They have to manually track all the touch points that they do with that customer or the field rep. And then they'll send that service request off to the field for the work to be done, to get our vendors and our subcontractors to come in and actually do the work in that home. To manage those service requests, the field reps also access our application to update that record, print that work order out, get it over to the vendor so they can get that work done for us. And even closing it out. The contact center is the only place that you can close a ticket because they have a process to follow up and make sure that customer is happy about the work that was done in their home. And then they'll go turn around and send a survey out to make sure that they can actually get all the information to try to better their process. Unfortunately, it's a manual process. As you see, manual pretty much all across the circle here, as they're actually doing a lot of work in the system manually, where we feel Salesforce is going to really help us get to a different level there. And even the key performance indicators, the director of warranty actually goes into those email Outlook boxes to count how many service requests came in today. So it's just it's a process that works for us. We're able to track some information. It's just not efficient. It's not efficient at all. So some of the big wins that we're actually going to accomplish with getting Salesforce in place, and just to mention that we are about 75% done with development. We were in Phoenix last week at our call center working with the business owners. We're getting them really involved. To your question earlier, they were actually helping us develop it themselves. I mean, they're in there from a user perspective. They're actually and what Dave mentioned earlier of the reports. We went to the reports first. What do you want to pull out of the system? And that's how we backed into what we're trying to build the system and configure it the correct way. But having the CTI in place is really going to be key. When a homeowner calls, it's going to pop the screen, have their information right there in front of, so the rep that's on that call, that's handling that call, can really be up to speed on what's wrong with that home. There are other service requests that they actually called in about previously. We're going to be able to leverage the robust functionality to eliminate all the counting of the emails that came in. So we've got some web integration that from our website, it automatically goes in and create a case within Salesforce. The console for those warranty reps, they'll have the console there to be able to help them run through and grab the ones that are more important. There is a lot of just communication that goes on that doesn't really turn into a service request or a work order that we need to do on that home, but just someone saying, I'm just following up to find out when they're going to, when's the scheduled date, so they can actually track all those different touch points. The key performance indicators are huge for this project. We really sat down with the business and asked them to define those up front so that we can hit on those as we're rolling this out. So, got a happy rep in the middle there, and because a lot of things are going to be automated, all that manual stuff that they were doing before, they won't have to do. As I mentioned earlier, the requests will come in via web. They'll have the phone calls connected directly to Salesforce through CTI, and we'll have different queues, so we know which ones are actually coming in that are just inquiries, which ones are really service requests that turn into work orders that are work done on that individual home. We can automatically send emails back to that homeowner saying that we got your request and we're working on it, to give them a notification, as well as all the touch points. If a request comes in, and based on the type of request, there's certain tasks that we want to auto-generate with the workflow for that rep to follow up on, as well as the field rep to follow up and work on. And even closing it. When you close that service request out, we're making sure that every touch point is hit, and that's going to trigger an automatically survey to actually go out to that homeowner to find out how our service was for them. So again, Beezer's main concern right now is customer service. I mean, from the sales side all the way through to our customer care side, we want to actually show that customer experience throughout the life cycle of our home buyer. Any questions?
So, Joe, do you want to touch a little bit on your tips and your lessons learned through this process as well?
Well, we're not finished yet. So some of the lessons learned, we learned from our sales side of the implementation. I can talk about a little bit about that and some of the things that we're doing right now to try to avoid some of the things that we did on the sales side. And it's one, getting that group of customer care folks, not just the guys at the call center, but the field rep, the guy who's out there actually, switching out the faucet, that we want his opinion of how he can actually access the application. And does he need mobile? Does he need a laptop? Make sure that he has the tools that he needs to do that. And we're involving every level of our service involved in the project to give their input, as well as change management. We've had a big, strong change management push on our sales side. We want to do the same thing with the customer care. Again, getting them involved early, having them actually perform the UAT themselves. We have implemented ideas. We're going to implement that on the customer care side as well. We've got a lot of great ideas from our salespeople, and we've made enhancements to our sales side of the application to fit their needs. They're the ones who use the application every day. You know, they look at us as experts, but we call them the experts because they're touching it and feeling it every day. On the CTI side, some of the things are from the CTI that we're actually going to get some benefit from is the transfer of calls on the sales side. When a call comes in, I could easily transfer that call not just to someone at the division level of where that home is, but the community level of where that home is for the customer care side and as well as the sales side, someone interested in the home.
Questions? One second.
I just wonder if you considered using the queue functionality in Salesforce, and why maybe if you didn't use it, why?
You said, yeah, we are using it on the sales.
Using that queue for routing.
Yeah, we are using the queue side on our sales, and we will be using it on the customer care.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, the queue is going to have probably 3 different types of queues that are sitting there. Ones that are for general questions that we can follow up with those homeowners. The other is going to be ones that are related to existing service requests and then new service requests, and we can kind of split those out.
Thank you.
All right, maybe we'll take one more question for Jeff.
Multiple people have referenced change management as being critical. What tactical things did you do to ensure that you were managing change appropriately?
All right, well, some of the tactical things we did is we got executive sponsorship. We made sure that a top-level executive sponsored the project. We actually have a series of emails that executive sends out to the full field. I mean, not just the managers, but every level that this is coming. Just letting them know that it's coming. After we went through that kind of series, we started sending out features of the week. And features of the week actually compared our current application to the new applications, and some of the heartaches that we already know about that they're having today, we're showing those benefits in the new application. So, and we put a movie theme around it. So it had kind of like Rocky Balboa, and at the top, and it kind of had a little statement from that, and it was kind of related to the topic that we were actually doing. We actually still do it today. We still send the features of the week out every week. Even on our IT service desk, we're tracking what type of calls are coming in from the sales and customer care, so we can identify specifically, all right, they're having trouble with account relationships. So we did a feature week, the end of that week on account relationships, and the calls started dying down on that area. Because if they don't use it every day, they don't have an account relationship from a realtor to a person to an account all the time. When they get a chance to go do it, they forgot how to do that. We also put out tip sheets. Those tip sheets are quick one-pagers to tell them how to do the basic functions of within Salesforce for each individual role.
Thank you so much, Joe. Really do appreciate your time. Yep. We'll save a little bit of the end of the session for general questions for the rest of our panel. But what I did want to do next is really introduce to you one of the App Exchange products in the marketplace that Blue Wolf really sees as a product that will support your customer care organizations. How many people in the room currently run a customer care organization and are very interested in serving your customers to see their experience with you guys? All right, wonderful. So this is really exciting because what Amy Miller is really going to talk about now is how market tools can really support that process and help you automate that information that you're getting. All right? Without further ado, Amy.
Hi, thank you. So I run marketing for Market Tools, and just to give a little bit of background, what we do is we help our customers make better business decisions through listening to their customers in multiple ways. And that's based both on prospective customers out there in the marketplace, as well as the customers that are already within their database. Our customers include Salesforce.com, which uses Market Tools for all of their customer satisfaction, Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, and other brands that you've heard of, and I won't list them all here, but 400 of the Fortune 500. We have been a SaaS software company since our inception. All of our technology is based on software as a service. We provide a broad range of solutions. Our customers use them for market research, for customer care, for improving their customer retention, for improving their marketing effectiveness, and many customers use us for our Zoomerang product, which is for fast and easy surveys. So let me ask, Jolene was asking questions. How many people here have ever taken a survey? 5 years ago, that would have been half the room. That's how rapidly the adoption of online surveys has happened. And the behavior of our customers and the expectations around these surveys has gone up with the adoption of it. So at Market Tools, before we get into today, what I'd like to discuss is how to think about customer satisfaction. What does it mean? All of a sudden, my CEO is saying, we have to get one of those voice of the customer programs. Get me one of those. Let's start surveying them. So I want to walk through what that actually looks like and what that would mean. But by way of background, what we at Market Tools do is we help design and implement customer satisfaction programs, including for some of the largest customers, large Fortune 10 customers, high technology customers. They include Hewlett-Packard, Microsoft, Salesforce.com. Our Zoomerang product, which I wanted to talk in detail today, is used by over 1 million customers. Each month, over 5 million surveys are taken on a Zoomerang, our Zoomerang survey. It's used by Fortune 10, Procter & Gamble, 500 marketers use Zoomerang surveys. It's used by educators. It's used by marketers, salespeople, to ask a quick question. How am I doing? As Ed Koch, the mayor, used to say all the time as he walked around New York, how am I doing? It is so important to ask your customers, how are you doing? Because that is a harbinger of the profitability of your customer, the revenue of your company, and the future of your company. So I thought I'd spend a second talking about what are these voice of the customer programs that your CEO is now mentioning and asking to integrate in with customer care. The voice of the customer is just exactly what it sounds like. It is listening to your customers, and that's often listening to them where they are. So often when we think about the voice of the customer, we ask them to come to us on our time, fill out a paper survey. I'll analyze it. 6 months later, I'll get a report to the CEO, and we'll know how we did 9 months ago. So it's listening to the customer where they are. That could be on a blog. That could be on my own website. And that could be 3 minutes after they just interacted with an agent of mine. It's also important to take all this information and this cacophony of noise and analyze it in a way that you can act on it. One of the most important things to do in Voice of the Customer is not start asking questions and have no plan to do with that, because that's one of the fastest ways to frustrate your customer base, is to start asking, how am I doing, and then ignore their answers. So it is important to have steps for listening to the data, analyzing it in a way that you can make it impactful to your business, but most critically to act on that data, to create a mechanism to systematically act on the information. Otherwise, you have a tremendous amount of PowerPoints and charts and Salesforce dashboards, but you don't have an improvement in customer satisfaction. And today, we've announced Zoomerang surveys for Salesforce, which enables you to do all 3 steps natively within the Salesforce environment. So drilling down on what these steps are, as a company who helps our customers both design these programs as well as provide the software for them, the first thing to do is collect the feedback. So just as importantly, it's important to collect it at the right time. Customers interact with you, as I mentioned, through your agents, your portal, the last program that you sent out. And at that moment, they have an opinion on how you're doing. But they also have opinions on your future product directions. They have ideas. To Dave's point earlier, they're willing to join communities. You need to have software that brings customers seamlessly from a community into a survey and perhaps back into a community as well. That sort of seamless software is what MarketTools provides. As you're thinking about collecting, these programs, essentially, there's two kinds of collections. There's transactional, I just bought something, so how did that transaction go, to relationship surveys. And when we say about thinking about how to collect the right information, the key is to be respectful of your customer's time. The first thing that happens after the first successful survey is a bunch of marketers are going to pile onto that survey and give you an additional 50 questions to ask. We had a customer whose name I won't name who had an hour-and-a-half survey with 2 coffee breaks scheduled in it for their customers to take because they had a lot of questions for them. And it's great, I'm listening, all these great things. But you have to know what the right questions to ask are and to be respectful of the customer's time. And by the way, they're not doing that anymore. The other thing to use for a survey is customers are more than willing to provide you the latest and greatest information for your profiling information, for your win-loss data, for your customer satisfaction. So it's not just the how am I doing? Why didn't I win that opportunity? Why did I lose that opportunity? Why did I win that opportunity? How's my sales team doing? So you can grab data directly from the customer and populate it straight into Salesforce and have data integrity, fresh contact information from the last time you interacted with your customer. So drilling down into what do we do with the analysis? Well, it has to move beyond simply providing just a number that people don't understand what to do with. You have to look at, well, how am I doing with my top customers? How am I doing with my up-and-coming customers? Am I moving from a segment of customers, be it demographically on the consumer side? Many companies that focus on consumers think about their segments by demographics. Many B2B customers of ours think of it by company size, by region, by territory. How am I doing segmented and spot satisfaction and market trends? Just as importantly, and this is where the cacophony of data can come in, we're very comfortable asking for feedback if it's a number. But what happens if we ask for, what are your new ideas? And there's all this information. You have more than 10 customers. So taking really easy text analytics and doing tag clouds and listening to customers off of Twitter, you need to start analyzing that. And then track your metrics. You can improve customer satisfaction by drilling down on where we are doing well and repeating that, and then also drilling down on where we're not doing well, and trend this over time, because it's just as important. Your satisfaction number is what it is, not to focus in on what your competitors are doing or what other companies are doing and watch your own numbers go up. And that's how you can have impact on your own bottom line. And most importantly, and I want to emphasize this, it is to take actions on this information. Before you build this program, understand how are the executives going to use this data? Are they going to read it through dashboards? Am I going to pull from the dashboards and give reports? What are we going to do with this data in the contact activities? Are we going to build automated workflows such that when my number one client says they're dissatisfied, who gets notified? You can automate those workflows and you can act on them in an automated way. You can also benchmark your data. You can do market surveys and understand what customers think of your competitors and benchmark how are you doing against the competitors and take actions on it. Why do you think that they're better than we are on this feature or on this capability? And at the end of the day, you will improve your customer satisfaction I've got a number up here, Simplex Grinnell, they're a Tyco subsidiary. Not very fancy. They do fire alarms. They implemented a voice of the customer program. Within a year, they had improved by over 2 times their main satisfaction measure. By focusing on where the customers say you're doing well, by asking them at the right time, continuously, having automated workflows, that goes straight to the bottom line. And today we're introducing Zoomerang surveys for Salesforce to allow you to do that. It allows you to create powerful surveys literally in minutes. I encourage you, it's free to try, Zoomerang.com. Literally within minutes you can send a survey and ask a question. Because we know how hard it is to ask the right questions, we do provide free templates to get started. What does a customer satisfaction survey look like when it's asked correctly? How do I leverage this across the company? We have powerful analytics that are integrated straight in with Salesforce. You can use it in Zoomerang and Salesforce. So all the power that you're used to with Zoomerang, now within Salesforce. Enabling us to listen, analyze, and act on our data and improve our customer satisfaction. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Blue Wolf does have a booth in the main expo session. We also have a book called Iterate or Die, which really talks to the agile methodology and the transformation of your organization. So please do stop by. We'll be here for a couple of minutes after the session should you guys have any questions for us. Thank you again for joining us, and enjoy your Dreamforce experience.